Good evening and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre with me, Sanket Upadhyay. Three stories that we are tracking over the next 60 minutes. Story number one, what exactly is happening in the Congress party? State after state, leader after leader, there is a crisis for the party, which is not being attended to the manner in which it should be. Latest exhibit, the state of Rajasthan, where now Sachin Pilot, a tall Congress leader, is going to sit on a fast, on a dharna against his very own Chief Minister. Now they are not the best of friends, and we know that. We've seen that in the past also. But for it to get this ugly is also a reflection on the central leadership of the Congress, that they have not been able to solve this problem year after year after year. In this crucial election year, is this going to cost the Congress very, very dearly? So Gehlot versus Sachin, is this a case of piloting a Congress split in Rajasthan? Is Sachin Pilot planning to go it alone ahead of the elections? And if that happens, where does that leave Mr. Ashok Gehlot? And is this advantage Bharatiya Janata Party? Also on the show, we are going to talk about what India seems to be doing, which is its right to repopulate and develop frontier villages. The Home Minister is in Arunachal Pradesh. China is fuming as to why an Indian Home Minister is going on Indian soil to repopulate and develop frontier villages. Is this checkmate China plan being worked on efficiently? China is doing all sorts of developments in territories which does not even belong to China. What stops India from repopulating and redeveloping villages in our territory? Is this a case of piloting a Congress split in Rajasthan, and is this a crisis left unattended for a very, very, very long time? Something that you don't do if you want to win elections. Joining us right now is senior journalist Ashutosh. Sanjay Jha is a political analyst. Tushar Gupta is senior editor of Swaraj. Tehseen Poonawala is a political analyst, and Rakhi Rathod, BJP spokesperson. Thank you very much to all for joining us. Ashutosh, I want to begin with you first and ask the most important question. Do you feel that the Congress is in a free fall where they are not settling the most obvious issues? The very, very obvious issues. This has been going on for a very long time. Here is a case where Sachin Pilot is now openly going to sit on a dharna against his own government.
Sanket, how can you solve an unsettable issues if it has been so easy for the Congress High Command? It would have been solved long back. The Congress High Command has no answers. An attempt was made when Ashok Gehlot was tipped to become the party president. He almost became a party president, and the formula was that Sachin will take over Rajasthan. But that did not happen. And first time in almost 20 years of Sonia Gandhi's leadership, the Sonia Gandhi was defied by her own Darbari, own loyalist. So you can understand. I think Congress is heading not only for trouble, but it can also be a much greater problem for the Congress, because it can neither afford to side with Ashok Gehlot, nor it can afford to side with the Sachin Pilot, and in between, Congress might be heading for a serious crisis in terms of electoral battle. There's no denying the fact that Rajasthan BJP is also factionally
Divided.
Is divided into different factions. Sundar Rajesh Scindia is beyond the control of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. But the way Sachin Pilot and Ashok battle is on, I don't see any solution happening in near future or later also.
Sanjay Jha, what is your impression of the way this crisis has been mishandled? I won't say handled, because it is very clear that it has not been handled.
Well, Sanket, the truth is that in politics, you can't airbrush a problem. I mean, if the writing is on the wall, you got to read it and address it. I have been very vocal in the past as well on the entire public spat between Mr. Gehlot and Sachin. Now, I have said very categorically that the Congress party had to take a call that in 2023, with Rajasthan being a swing state, no matter what you do, I personally feel that the health bill is a landmark legislation, but yet you will have an anti-incumbency. And the Congress party leadership had to take a call, in my opinion, at least 6 months to a year ago, that who should be the face of your party in 2023. And Sanket, this is not about past promises made to Sachin. We can ignore that. You don't want to make the mistake that you did in Punjab, which is to give an opportunity to somebody 6 months before an election and have that boomeranging on a man who is, by the way, a seasoned veteran at a very young age. Sachin is, in my opinion, a brilliant politician. Why is the Congress not taking the call is frankly intriguing, because I thought when Mr. Kharge took over, he will bite the bullet and take a call. Because in politics, if you believe, and Congress has to learn from its past mistakes, that a problem doesn't cease to exist because you ignore it. And I completely agree with your theme for this conversation this evening, that in denying the inevitable, the Congress is actually giving the state of Rajasthan, where some good work has actually been done, on a silver platter to a very hungry BJP,
which is also divided.
Unwise decision.
Which is also divided. But do you feel that it is finds itself a slightly better place than the Congress right now?
I think politics is a zero-sum game, right? At the moment, it's a two political battle in Rajasthan. But it's not too late. I mean, politics, a week is a long time. Yeah. If the Congress leadership, I think Mr. Kharge now has to take that big decision. He has to take a call.
Interesting that you mentioned that name. Tehseen Poonawala, you see a very interesting point was mentioned by Sanjay Jha, that this is Punjab all over again. In a fight between Captain Amrinder Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu, a Charanjit Singh Channi was installed. And then look what happened to the Congress party. In the state of Rajasthan, in a fight between Gehlot and Pilot, I do not know what the plan of the Congress party is. Certainly this is a crisis which has not been handled for a very long time. Would you or would you not concede that it is long enough now for Mr. Kharge to realize that this could be his failing and not anyone else's? He has been at the helm when this crisis was happening. He joined, and then this is still going on. So it's his failing.
Look, I completely concede to the 2 points that Ashutosh and Sanjay made, that this needs to be resolved as of yesterday. It's already too delayed. That's point number one. Point number two, just if you think about it from a neutral perspective, I firmly believe Karnataka Congress is winning. Madhya Pradesh, they have a very good chance to win. In Chhattisgarh, they could retain if they don't score self-votes. But you just ask your viewers who's winning Rajasthan, or you ask anyone, and you know that the Congress is not in pole position in Rajasthan. This is a fact. And I'm a Congress voter and a Congress supporter. Let's have no ambiguity on it.
By the way, the official spokespersons of the Congress party refused to join a panel discussion.
Terrible. Yeah. Terrible. This is the thing. I'm just going to go slightly off. The Congress is Nehru's party and Mahatma Gandhi's party. They should stay till the end and fight. This is not how it should be. But I don't want to get into that and give them advice. Ashutosh can do that, or Sanjay can. They are more closer. I'm just going to speak what I say from my heart. So at this point, the Congress is not in pole position in Rajasthan. So I agree with what Ashutosh and Sanjay are saying, that this matter needs to be resolved. That's point number one. Point number two, look, where is this coming from? Sachin, as PCC president, when Congress won Rajasthan, had made certain promises. Remember, Sachin was leading the Congress, and the Congress won Rajasthan. And those promises involved taking action on the corruption of the BJP and Vasundhara Raje government. Now, when you're going back to the electorate, why shouldn't that promise be fulfilled? Why should the Congress not act on BJP when continuously there are no cases on Congress leaders, but the BJP fights cases on Congress leaders? I'm not asking for any fake cases, but I'm saying when the Congress had gone to the people of Rajasthan with certain allegations of corruption and certain promises to act upon them, shouldn't the people be held?
No, but Tehseen, these cases should have been filed. If that was the promise that leaders made, then where were these cases in the past 4.5 years? Now suddenly in an election season, you will have cases against your political opponents, and then the whole thing...
not cases, but at least what Sachin has said. And I think Sachin is right. You have accountability to the people. You have to go to the people. Look, if I win an election saying hypothetically Tushar or Sanket or Sanjay is done something wrong.
Did Sachin Pilot raise this issue in 2021 or in 2019?
2021
or
he did.
2020?
2021-22. He did 2021. He did raise it. These are one of the points that were internally there. And I think that these issues have to be put before the people. Even if there's nothing, you put it before the people. So I think Sachin is not going to BJP, but I think he's right. And this idea that we will not act on BJP's corruption has to stop. I think BJP's corruption must be there for the world to see. So I think Sachin's making some very valid points.
My point is, why would a Congress chief minister not want to do it if there is a valid ground?
So I think that is something that needs to come out. And whatever Sachin and Ashok Gehlot ji are saying, the top leadership, whether it's Kharge sir or it's Rahul ji, they must sit with the two leaders and they must have a solution.
You know, you're so clever, Tehseen. Very cleverly, you have dodged my question of whether this is the failure of Mr. Kharge in managing a crisis, leadership crisis in Rajasthan. He has been the president long enough.
Therefore, Tushar always tells me that I'm excellent. He always tells me that. I know where to. But the fact of the matter is, I'll just add one more line here without mincing words. This Rajasthan crisis, and Ashutosh knows, could have been resolved some time ago. As a loyal party cadre, yours is not to question why, yours is but to do or die. So when you've been asked to step down and become something else in the party, which is actually a promotion, if you don't do it, I think, in my opinion, that itself gave a very strong message.
Okay, Rakhi Rathore, you see, right now, as the political opponent to the Congress, I'm sure the BJP is very happy observing from the sidelines what is happening. But it's not like your house is in order. There is a leadership crisis there also. For instance, can you spell out very clearly right now that Ms. Vasundhara Raje is going to be the chief ministerial face of the BJP?
Actually, Sanket, who would be the chief minister would be decided by the parliamentary board, which is always there in each and every, the policy is same in each and every state. But I want to thank Sachin Pilot ji because yesterday he raised the issue of corruption. Because from last 4.5 years, we have seen corruption in each and every department. And these questions are raised by their own MLAs, by the citizens of Rajasthan only. So I just want the Chief Minister, I want to request Chief Minister, from last 4.5 years, the corruption charges should be inquired here also. I want to mention one special case because their own MLA, Mr. Bharat Singh, he has written many letters to Chief Minister, has requested many times on public platform to Chief Minister that there should be an inquiry on the big scams in mining department, but nothing has been done. In front of Education Minister, the teachers of Rajasthan told Chief Minister that they have to pay money for their transfer and posting, but nothing was done. So there should be an inquiry. And we are actually for the inquiries on BJP. A Mathur Commission was constituted by Chief Minister in his previous tenure and nothing came out of that inquiry. They are not inquiring anything. And in fact, Chief Minister, Sachin Pilot, he was the member, he was a part of the cabinet for first 1.5 years. He was mum at that time. So they know that nothing will come out of these inquiries and they know that they are going to lose in 2023 elections, and out of frustration, they are attacking each other. They have been attacking, in fact, each other from last, the kind of words has been transferred, has been shared between them like Nakara, Nekamma, Corona. These kind of words has been shared between them. So it is because of their internal also, rift that they are...
Interview to NDTV.
Yeah, Gaddar, yes. Yes, Gaddar. So these are the... Yes, for the exclusive interview in NDTV, he named that, he has given that name to Sachin Pilot. So it is because of their internal rift that it is all happening. But because this issue has been raised, Chief Minister should address for their own department, in fact.
Okay. Tushar Gupta, what is your assessment? Is this a case where Sachin Pilot is thinking to himself that, I mean, it's now or never. I have to assert myself. I have to go into this election fighting. I cannot be seen as a second fiddle to Ashok Gehlot. Perhaps building his ground or building his case for the future. And most importantly, Tushar, how many MLAs of the existing are going to stand with Sachin Pilot or be with him?
That is the crux of the matter, Sanket. You summed it up very, very well. Congress has been beating around the bush for far too long. Let's look at it in a very non-objective manner. Congress needs a winning candidate, a potential winner going forward in the 2023 elections and ahead of the 2024 elections. Irrespective of whatever is happening in any other states, they want to bet on the leader who can get them the seats in the Lok Sabha, that can get them the state in the 2023 elections. Now, does Sachin Pilot have the MLAs? For me, it doesn't appear so, because if he had the MLAs, he would have got the job done so far for himself. But then the Congress needs to take a strong stance here. They cannot have this conflict emerging year after year. If Ashok Gehlot has the numbers, he needs to be there. If Sachin Pilot has numbers, he needs to be there. You cannot be having a conflict every now and then, because the electorate is looking. 9 months before the elections, you're repeating the same mistakes that you had in Punjab, and you were winning Punjab. Congress was a poll favorite to win Punjab before this entire fiasco between Captain Narendra Singh and Navjot Singh Sidhu came up. So my understanding is that the Congress leadership, be it Mallikarjun Kharge, be it the Gandhi family, they need to take a strong call on who's going to be the candidate who can potentially win them the state and the maximum number of seats in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. Everything else is just beating around the bush.
Ashutosh, do you feel that for Sachin Pilot to exert himself within the party and outside, he needs to show support of either existing MLAs or members in the party, the cadre? Do you think that that rallying of support needs to happen publicly?
Sanket, I think what Sachin is doing, Sachin is trying to act over smart. That's a problem with him.
Over smart.
He can be in politics. You can be smart if you got MLAs on your side. Last time when there was a power struggle, look how many MLAs were with Ashok Gehlot, more than 80, and how many with Sachin, less than 10. So with a majority of MLAs supporting Ashok Gehlot solidly with him, had gone to the speaker, had given their resignations to him, and Sachin Pilot was sitting in a corner and waiting that MLAs will come to him. It did not happen. So the fact of the matter is, on what basis can Sachin guarantee that if he is the biggest mass leader in Rajasthan? No. He is basically a caste leader and a young face who can emerge as a potentially as a good mass-based leader. But right now he is not. So second point is, can he leave Congress? I don't see that's happening, because will BJP accept him? Can BJP accept him? I don't see that is happening also, because within the BJP there is a Vasundhara Raje Scindia, there is a Shekhawat, there's too many leaders. In that crowd, where will Sachin Pilot fit in? Can Sachin Pilot form his own regional party? I think Sachin Pilot, if think that he can, then he should leave Congress and form a regional party. But look at what happened to others. So the problem with Sachin Pilot is he's not willing to wait. He's too much in a hurry. Ideally suited, he's a number 2 in the Congress in Rajasthan. If he waits for another 5 years, another election, he can be the future leader of the Congress in Rajasthan and can take Congress in Rajasthan for many, many years. But he has that fatal flaw, and I'm repeating it. He has that fatal flaw which will finally lead to his decimation if he doesn't act smartly.
Okay, these are very strong words by Ashutosh. Sanjay Jha and then Tehseen Poonawala one by one. Sanjay Jha, Ashutosh feels that he should have waited 5 more years, which means Sachin Pilot will come of age in 2027 and not in 2023 or 2018 as he had wanted.
Sanket, let me tell you, ideologically and practically, I'm a big believer in radical change. I'm very pro-young, and I believe parties need not get fossilized at all, because that may have worked in a historical essay of India. Times have changed.
By the way, Sanjay, the Congress president is 80 years plus.
Absolutely. And if you notice, I batted for Shashi Tharoor for Congress president. I have backed Sachin. And I'll tell you why. Mr. Gehlot is chief minister for the 3rd time. I mean, Sachin, let's put it on record here. And for a change, I happen to be agreeing with my friend Tushar on the program. If you look at the last assembly election, it is Sachin who worked the ground up to get Congress back from 21 seats, its lowest ever, up to 100. And I can tell you, I mean, it's a no-brainer that Sachin Pilot deserves a shot at that job. And you know, Ashutosh is again a dear friend of mine. For God's sake, when I see a young person become an MP, or I would say India can have a prime minister above the age of 25. It can be a 30-year-old man, or woman, by the way. Why do we believe that, you know, just because you are young and you're not young at 50? I mean, at 60, we are called young in Indian politics, which I think is not right. India is a younger country. Give people a chance. And my simple answer is Mr. Gehlot has been Chief Minister 3 times. He brought the Congress to an abysmal low of 20 odd seats. Sachin makes it up to 100. You deny him the post of a Chief Minister and you tell him wait for another 5 years. I would say Sachin Pilot should be the face for the job.
So then what should he do?
And I can tell you...
You see, the thing is that if you are strong enough, if you have the base, the support base, then you can exact change. Do you feel that the reason why the party is not being able to take a decision, Tehseen Poonawalla, is because somewhere it knows?
Sachin, just one short point. Just one short point. You know, the problem for people like Sachin Pilot and me are very straightforward. We guys are ideologically wedded to the Congress. I can tell you publicly, I know Sachin well enough. He will not join the BJP. But the Congress should not take advantage of the hamstrung position of people like us. You know, end of day, you got to use your talent of Sachin Pilot today. I mean, to say that Mr. Gehlot will be the face of 2023, with due respect to Mr. Gehlot, I respect his seniority and all that kind of jazz. But it's time that somebody needs to take a backseat and give Pilot a chance to run for government in 2023.
Very quickly, closing comments.
There are just two issues. When you're in leadership position, it is your duty to try and solve issues. Come what may. Don't allow them to fester on. Don't allow them to persist. I'll give you an example of the Honorable Prime Minister with a rebel in Uttarakhand. That call went viral. The rebel did not sit down. But the Prime Minister picked up the call and made a personal call asking the rebel to sit down. What I'm trying to say is when you're in a position of leadership, you must try and bell the cat. The Congress, unfortunately, has entered a phase or is continuing to be in a phase which was a Narasimha Rao famous quotation that not doing something is doing something. Times have changed since then. You're now in 2023. It is extremely important to have momentum going into 2024 if you have any hope of dislodging the BJP. One last thing. I agree that Sachin is the future. Just leave all analysis aside. Who is the leader who made you win in 2017? Who is the leader who can take you to victory in the future? I think that is where you got to lay your eggs on. I don't think Sachin is going to go to the BJP. He's in fact attacking the BJP's corruption. So there's no way he's going there. And who's the leader who defined you? So I think you'll have to take some hard decisions. In politics, taking hard decisions is important.
Okay.
You can't not take hard decisions and escape from
so
that.
Clearly that hard decision has not been taken by the Congress, and there's one new headache coming right up for them in Rajasthan. Thank you very much for joining us. We're stopping for a short break at this moment. We'll be back with our discussion on China in just a short moment. Welcome back. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. Now time for discussion number 2. You see, what India has planned or has been planning to do for a very long time, has successfully done it also in the past, was initiated again in the form of repopulating and redeveloping frontier villages. Now this is being seen as a strategy to not just retain frontier positions, but also build an intelligence system, also build an awareness system where people don't desert those places, and it remains of strategic importance. Now obviously this has not gone down well with China. The latest, Amit Shah, Home Minister, went to Arunachal Pradesh for this very same program, and China believes that this is China's territory. Is this a robust move by New Delhi to checkmate China? And should this be done more often? I mean, here is a country which is entering other countries and populating villages. Certainly we can do that in our own country, on our own soil. Let's start this discussion. Brahma Chelani is a strategic affairs expert. Lieutenant General Rameshwar Yadav, former Director General Infantry of the Indian Army, is with us. Professor Yukteswar Kumar, former First Asian Deputy Mayor of Bath. We also have Dr. Tara Kartha, former Director of the National Security Council Secretariat. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. Mr. Brahma Chelani, to you first. Do you feel that this is a strategic and an important move and should happen more often than it happens?
Well, I agree with that. But first things first, which country recognizes China's claim to Arunachal Pradesh? Not even Pakistan. So it's just China that asserts its claim. Second, it was 6 years ago that Xi Jinping publicly called upon Tibetan herdsmen to settle in border villages and become, quote unquote, guardians of Chinese territory. So this program by China to populate unpopulated frontier areas has been in motion for at least 6 years, and India finally has started to repay China in kind by deciding to also establish border villages. Better late than never. But it's important to remember that the Chinese border villages are not just populated by ordinary villagers. A majority of the people in the villages that China has set up are militiamen, paramilitary people. They also have some Tibetan nomads, for example, but it's largely a security settlement. And not only are they planted settlers, new military infrastructure and roads also come up around these villages. So it's clearly this village building spree has a clear security/military dimension. And step by step, China is seeking to change ground realities by creating new militarized civilian settlements. And this is in keeping with the 2021 Land Borders Law, which called for advancing a civil-military fusion strategy through border settlements. So there is a well-thought-out strategy that China is pursuing, and India needs to respond with a long-term strategy.
Lieutenant General Yadav, do you feel that this is an effective long-term strategy going forward?
Firstly, I would like to further add to what Mr. Brahmachalani said. The way China is going, it is one of the variants of their salami slice policy that they have. Settle the civil population there, which is loyal to them, create a lot of infrastructure for their army. And similarly, now that we have done it, though it is a little late, but it is a very good policy and it is warranted. So as to we stake claims in our border areas. And the Home Minister, he has inaugurated this village in a place called Kibitu. Now, Kibitu, I've been to that area. It is the easternmost tip of our country, and it is a Lohit Valley. And during 1962, so China had come here, the famous Battle of Wolong in this area. So there is a very subtle message also India conveying to China, look, we are going to settle our people in the remotest of areas and see to it that we exert our sovereignty in this area, that is Arunachal Pradesh. And we must also remember there is a principle of settled population when we have when we show that these areas are ours. So this scheme is also devoted towards this kind of a principle, and so that we can show that we have a settled population in remotest of these areas, all the 6 to 7 valleys that we have in our Arunachal Pradesh and elsewhere other 4 to 5 states. So this is the way we are exerting our sovereignty and convey a message to China, look, stay away from these areas. These are our areas, it is our population, and we are going to take care of them. And this is a plan for the development of remote of the area, which is part of our democratic push.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Kartha, you see, right now Mr. Brahmachalani said that you don't have a normal settlement happening along the Chinese border or in areas which are technically not even part of China. The settlements there are being done by China are of specifically trained, translocated, relocated people who will be of strategic military importance to China in the wake of a conflict. Do you feel that this step that India has taken of building, guardians of the frontier will be able to match this strategy of China, of getting in nomads, of getting in people, translocating them?
No, at one level, it is a policy which they are talking of vibrant villages. It's set in the larger development policy of India. I mean, that's how they framed it, that this is something we need to do. And, if any of us, you go to any villages in, say, Uttarakhand, you go in Himachal Pradesh, there is a lack of job opportunities. There's a lack of infrastructure. There's a lack of development. So this serves that. But when the fact that, as the general says, that this was said in Arunachal Pradesh, is definitely it's a message. But one of the things we used to do was that, much of your retired people from the armed forces would go back and settle in those villages. I mean, these were all areas from where you would, especially in Himachal and in Uttarakhand, you would pick them up and they would go back there, right? And that sort of became your friendly force in those areas. I'm not sure how that's going to happen anymore because you've switched to the Agnipath scheme. But apart from that, the fact that you will now develop extensive linkages across into Arunachal is a very, very important factor. Into Arunachal and all border areas, thereby establishing not just quick connectivity where you can move your troops quickly, move your supplies quickly, but also the fact that there is a robust presence in those areas. I mean, there is like I said, there is a basic fact that youth are leaving the villages because there are no jobs. So this is an attempt to rectify that as well in the development framework. But I don't see how China can even object. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. Given especially the fact that, I mean, look, they talk of double standards, right? They talk of double standards all the time. What is China talking of in terms of the Ukraine conflict? It's talking of sovereignty of countries being a basis as of the peace plan that it proposes. What kind of double standards are these?
Okay. All right. Professor Yukteswar Kumar would want to know your views on this strategy. I mean, you see on the face of it, how can there be an objection, any objection on India trying to populate and develop its own villages? Where is the problem?
Of course, but one needs to go into the history. And of course, any status by China should not be changed by force or by any escalation or use of force, which could very adversely impact the global peace and stability. But China being China, it does not recognize the international border. McMahon Line, for example, it says it is illegal since 1914. And China being China, of course, it has developed an Indian mentality has to also grow up from the 1950s of India-China Bhai paradigm. So the Indian interlocutors, Indian mandarins, Indian bureaucrats, Indian scholars have to also grow up from that mentality, which is being seen now, certainly, because today's Amit Shah's visit and Indian government's very big stand that they are obviously averse to any renaming of villages or places in China. It is indeed ridiculous because if you see just last week, China on its own changed name of 11 places in Arunachal Pradesh, what it calls Changnan. Now Changnan, for example, I give you some of the names they have changed. They call Tawang, which obviously is very well known Tawang area. Now just calling, if you read Chinese, Tawang is not a proper Chinese name, but just a translation of Indian or Northeast Indian places, geographical names. So they are deliberately doing this. For example, my name, if somebody starts calling me Yu De Suo, that's my Chinese name, my identity, my originality, my heritage, that cannot be changed.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You will not suddenly become Chinese.
That's what they are doing.
Yeah.
That's what they are doing. If you read the Chinese names, they're just translating it, not its originality. So of course it is not in China's, it was not in the history books of China.
But then,
they were in China.
While you say that, Professor Kumar, Brahma Chelani, you see, salami slicing and claiming of territory has been an old Chinese game. It has been going on for a very long time. This is being seen as one of the many efforts that India is taking to not just regain its borders, but also prevent, basically meet strength with strength. What more needs to be done as we very tactfully fight this battle with China?
That's a good question, Sanket. To foil the Chinese strategy of incremental territorial aggrandizement, India must raise local scout forces that are modeled on the Ladakh scouts, but are independent of the army. These will be sons of the soil, defending their own territory. They will serve as the best defense in peacetime. Local people living in the mountain areas, Ladakhis, Himachalis, Uttarakhandis, Sikkimis, Arunachalis, and Tibetans, are best suited to safeguard India's borders. Why? Because they have distinct genetic features that allow them to breathe easily at very high altitudes. Such local people will be seeking to defend their own lands from an external aggressor. In other words, they have a major stake in border defense being effective. So the Ladakh Scouts model can be extended across the Himalayan frontier. Second, it's important to impart some rudimentary military training to the people that we will settle in these border villages. It's very important because, as I mentioned, the Chinese are settling militiamen in their frontier villages. And finally, India needs to beef up its frontier forces. The under-resourced Indo-Tibetan Border Police, which is under the command of the Home Ministry, not the Defense Ministry, needs special attention. We have to equip the Indo-Tibetan Border Police units with advanced gear and place them under the command of the army. That would signal to China that the doors of an open door are over.
I think that's a significant point that is being made. I believe we also have Andrew K.P. Leong. He's an independent China strategist who's now joining us. Andrew, first of all, I just want to know from you, where is the problem if India is populating and developing its own villages along the border?
Well, I think that this border disputes has been poisoning the relationship of these two great countries for far, far too long. I think that both sides, of course, are right to defend their own perceived territory. And of course, the line of actual control and all these problems date back before the independence of India, to British India. Look at what happened during that time. There was a lot of excursions into China's territory. And all these problems are handed down through the years, poisoning the relationship between two countries. Now, I think that there is no point trying to score brownie points. All these talks, all the time I've been appearing on this show, on your station, on other TV channels, it's all about brownie points. It's not going to solve the problem. How can you expect China to kneel down and concede its claimed territory? Neither could China expect India to do the same. And these two countries have a lot more in common. And of course, you can see that both sides are at least not at loggerheads over Ukraine vis-a-vis Russia. I mean, India is not going to be at the United States beck and call as far as the relationship with Russia is concerned. So I think that to define the relationship in these two countries just because of the border disputes is really getting a little bit tired. And then the kind of trumping one's own chest, just scoring brownie points
Mr.
on
Andrew,
either side.
the problem here is, Dr. Karta, you see the problem here is it appears as if sermons are being given at a time when a country is only trying to defend its interests, and that too against a neighbor who's far too adventurous, settling villages not just in its own territory but in neighboring countries also. And there are satellite images available.
I think it's, I mean, it is ridiculous to assume that, that we are the ones who are trying to create problems. Who's renaming villages? Who's claiming a territory 100 kilometers into Bhutan? I mean, this is not us doing it. It is China doing it. Of course you have common interest, but I'm amazed that Beijing can't see it. And why is it doing this? I mean, just look at the fact. See, try and imagine in 2017, when the Doklam incident took place, India took a lot of measures to make sure that we didn't escalate rhetoric. We didn't even want the US to talk about it. That was the kind of stance we had in 2017. Now look how things have changed. You have a US Congress making a resolution saying Arunachal Pradesh is part of India. There is an India-US exercise going on. Why has this taken place? After all, it is the continuous acts by China of renaming villages. I mean, this is entirely unprovoked. How can you justify this? And that too, that this claim on Arunachal Pradesh is being made after the agreement which we signed in 2003, remember? When we had recognized Tibet and we had a sort of agreement on border trade, then nothing was said about Arunachal. And where did all this come from? So it is entirely this push by China and spoiling a relationship that potentially has tremendous avenues for cooperation.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for want of dialogue as far as India is concerned that we are reaching a situation like this. I mean, there have been various efforts in the past also. The jury is out. Thank you very much for joining us on this discussion. Thank you very much.